All right, Brett, welcome to another edition of Mayor's Monday. Of course, you're not a mayor, but
Okay.
we like to include you because some of the things that happen in Marathon County and they affect people in our listening area, whether that be for the good or the negative. Right now, one thing a lot of people think is a negative is the uniform addressing, but in the long run, this is something that's being done for the good of everybody involved. Correct.
The intent is that it supports public safety. It'll have a impact on getting the first responders, your police, fire, EMS people to the right address as soon as possible. And we know that it creates nuisance. We know that some people are disturbed by it. We are doing everything we can by having a special website, by having a partnership with our libraries to get them information to make this as easy as possible, but it does require effort.
Yeah, and it's something that people may have to spend some time doing in one day, but once they put in that effort or do that online notification to various publications of an address change or things like that, it's a one-time deal.
It is a one-time deal. The businesses have a bigger investment. They have a lot of literature and stuff like that they have to change, but they've had plenty of notice. So if they're reprinting stuff, they don't know their new address, but they have plenty of notice. Don't print a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
Print some, and they get you through till we get you that new address, and then you incorporate the new address.
Remind folks just exactly how this is going to go down, because once the ground thaws out, you're going to have people out there pounding posts
right.
for several months.
First, our consultants are going to come up with what are all the new addresses. Everyone will be notified of their new address. So then they'll be notified that the library and the website are there to assist them in notifying other people of their new address. Then we're going to have contractors out there putting in new posts. They should be the same kind of posts in the same location all over the unincorporated areas and a few incorporated areas that have opted in.
And just exactly how long is that process going to take for the posts and everything to be?
It's going to run right through the fall. Huh. And how long it's going to take is going to depend on whether we're doing Rib Mountain or not. Right. So if we have to add Rib Mountain, that's a lot of stakes. That's a lot of effort. He'll run us right through where the ground's frozen again.
Yep. So and that's going to be a good 6-7 month project, I'm sure, when it's all said and done. But
yes, there's a lot of geography in Marathon County. Once it's done, it'll be done.
Largest county in Wisconsin. Correct?
It is. Yeah. One of the largest in the nation.
And so this is going to be a process. But correct me if I'm wrong. When people will be notified as soon as that post is in front of their house, they can start using that address. Is that
That's
correct?
right. Yeah.
So yeah, we'll definitely be keeping people posted on that.
And we're going to do it. We'll have to let them know when to expect us. We'll be doing it township by township. We'll have an organized plan as to when we're going to get to your area. We'll communicate that to you.
And is that going to be you that's going to be organizing that plan then?
No.
Whoever it is.
There's going to be a team of people from multidisciplinary, including the firm that we're contracting with that's going to do the work, so that they can look at it, figure out what's realistic, let people know when they're coming.
Yeah, and whatever team has that plan, it's going to be a big undertaking.
It's a big undertaking.
So we'll be looking forward to that. We'll be looking forward to keeping people informed as well as to just exactly when this process starts and when it completes. And I'm sure it's something that for you, when it's done, you're going to be very glad it's over. Yes.
I've been talking about it for too long. I've been talking for over 7 years.
Right.
So this thing's been kicking around back and forth. It reminds me of the aquatic therapy pool. Mm-hmm. I'm tired of talking about the aquatic therapy pool. Either we raised the money or we didn't. I think it's going to be very positive. But let's build a pool. Let's not talk about it anymore. 10 years have gone by. That's enough talking about it. Let's build something.
Yep. And we just, of course, completed some elections here in Marathon County as well. I know there's one county administrator seat, that was up for election yesterday. Executive, yes. Give folks an idea of just exactly how that affects the board. How do you handle a transition like that when you've got new people coming in and coming out, which you potentially may have?
We always seem to have about a third lately that are new.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, we keep 2/3. We have a great big board, 38 members, so we have a lot of experienced members. But it is a challenge to orient and to assign the new people the things that they're interested in, because you don't want to assign them to stuff that they have no interest in, or you're going to have half the board be new next time. So we have to balance, and the board chair really is responsible for this. the senior people getting what they want, but allowing the junior people to also have the kind of assignments that are of interest to them and where they feel like they can make an immediate contribution. In the old days, they would tell the board members, you know what, it's best you just be seen and not heard from for a whole year. We don't want that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's demeaning to them. What they have to understand is this is a very complicated organization. It's basically an administrative arm of the state, has 40-some committees, all kinds of different people doing all kinds of different things, all different kinds of expertise. You're not expected to know everything the day you get onboarded. What we have to do is identify people that they can go to with questions and make it okay not to be right.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? You make a position and you find out new information. Happens to me every day.
Yeah.
And now you're not right. Now, okay, well, your objection is no longer valid. Let's keep exploring that. Just keep an open mind. Nobody expects you to be perfect. We will have a formal orientation program for people so that they get briefed on the procedures, how they get paid, what their expectations, Robert's Rules of Order, and some of the key issues that they can anticipate coming up in the first year. But that's not going to be enough. They're going to have to delve into it. The most important thing is if they read the information that they got, ask the most important questions,
Mm-hmm.
and just exercise good judgment.
Yeah, and because obviously a position like this, the decisions that you make are influencing a lot of people.
Oh, they are. 135, more than that, because you got people traveling through our county. So it's hundreds of thousands of people that you're influencing.
So I know there was one primary this week for sure, and I know the incumbent came through in that. Do you have any more that will be coming up with the general election?
Oh, there's a number of contested races. But most aren't.
Mm-hmm.
Over half aren't. But there's a number of contested races, and that's good for democracy.
Oh, absolutely.
It keeps the issues alive, keeps everybody on their toes.
And of course, one issue too that's been another issue that's been pretty hotly contested is the mining issue. Now that the mining ordinance is still in its crafting stages, nearing completion, we got to
get it done soon. Yeah, it's going to come up pretty soon. We're in new territory.
Mm-hmm.
We've done non-metallic mining now for 30 years. We're gravel and stuff like that. Metallic mining, that's a whole new area, and we're struggling to come up with a ordinance and a plan that we could defend if we had a Kennecott Copper or one of the gold companies come up here and challenge it. And they've got a lot of resources.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to do our best, and we're going to come up with something. And then as time goes on and we learn more, we'll amend it. It'll just get better with time.
Yeah, absolutely. But I remember in doing the story about this last week, you said that the number one issues that you wanted to make sure that this document covered, it's documents as many as 20 pages long, so there's a lot to sift through there, is that the environment is protected,
right,
and that the county, restored, yes, and that the county can have their hands and their authority on everything that they possibly legally can under what was previously
we want to
passed by
maintain
the
some
governor.
local control of this. We don't want to turn it over to just a large miner who, I know that most of these companies pride themselves on their restoration, but they're not all with that kind of resource.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want somebody to come in here, make a little bit of money or not make any money, and then just abandon it and leave us with a mess.
Right.
The people of our townships don't deserve that, neither do the people of our county.
And I know another issue is roads and making sure that the roads are maintained and in good shape too when the mining companies.
If you're going to mine, those are going to be heavy loads. They're going to bust up our town roads if we don't watch out. So we're going to have to figure out something there so that the people of that township or people of our county aren't just subsidizing their business by continually repairing roads that wouldn't have needed to be repaired or renovated if they weren't going back and forth over our road.
With that in mind, then, when you put this ordinance out there and possibly start taking proposals from companies to come in and mine possibly the gold over by the town of Easton or so,
right,
what is going to be in place then to kind of vet that company before you award that contract to make sure you look at all this and say, yes, these are good stewards of the land?
Well, certainly they'll go look at their history. Maybe look at what they've done elsewhere, what their financial resources are. If this completely exhausts their financial resources, maybe we can't block them or not, but it's going to make it harder for them to do a restoration if it turns out to be an unsuccessful mine.
Mm-hmm.
They
And-
just go bankrupt, now what?
Right.
You know, Kennecott Bank, Copper is not gonna go bankrupt.
Right.
One of those big companies, they've got all the financial resources in the world, but they're probably not interested in mining here either.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably going to be a smaller unit of, or enterprise. So at what point do they have to show the insurance or the fiscal capacity to keep the commitments that they have? So that they don't just say, well, we went bankrupt, we'll start up a new paper corporation somewhere else and do the same thing somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. So you are going to do your homework on these companies,
You know,
and make sure that they're.
I know, but there's also limits as to what we can do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to do homework on them is one thing, because a lot of them are publicly owned. So it's not that hard to get the information, but to actually say, no, you can't do that because of this. We have to have an ordinance in place to make that happen. And I think it's all reasonable. I think our ordinance will be sustained by the courts if it's reasonable.
Right.
You can't just block people from doing commerce when there's a willing buyer and a willing seller and a business plan. So what we have to do is articulate what are the public interests in this. No pollution, land left unspoiled, and those kind of things. You know, the protection of our roads, protection of the air, protection of other things. A lot of those are in place already, but we need to pull it all together to make sure that we have an enterprise that doesn't export its costs onto the public.